Hi everyone, Nina here. Hope you all had a great holiday time and Happy New Year. Today we are going to create these two beautiful hexagonal tags. We'll be using the Vintage Library paper collection from Stamperia. I used here my Cricut machine to cut two tag bases and two tag backgrounds. They're sturdy. We're gonna add even more sturdy layers. I used here white Bristol smooth papers and I plan to put the background on the bases so it would look like something like this at the end. So let's see, I want to color the bases, vivid colors. So whatever you put on top, I want to put lighter colors on top and I want them to pop against the base color. I want to create one from this blue and the other from this red. I'm going to try to use my acrylics, blend colors from my acrylics that I have to achieve these two blue and colors from the exact same shade. I will try to make it as similar as possible to the shades that are in the paper collection. So here I'm using my Art by Merlin acrylic colors. I use two red colors and I'm gonna leave everything linked down below with all the colors that I use. And then I think these colors were good, but later I'm gonna make them darker. And then I sprayed some water on them, mix them together, and then just use this very thick paintbrush to mix it together and to apply it on the base of the tag. I also added a little bit more white to the directly on the tag base, so it would give this beautiful contrasting colors. And then I just used a paper towel and smooshed the color so it would give this beautiful effect. Also here I did the same thing. I left it aside to dry, and I did the same technique here to color the other tag base as close as possible to the colors that are in the paper collection. And then I left them to dry. Meanwhile, I'm going to work on the background of the tags. Notice that I left a little border between the size of the tag base and the tag background, so the base color can show through. I smooshed a couple brown colors from the Distress inks. I smooshed the ink pad against my glass mat and sprayed some water. I think this was Vintage Photo and Walnut. I will leave the colors linked down below. And then I sprayed some water and I smooshed the tags against the sprayed ink of my glass mat to give this beautiful effect, leaving some areas white. And then with the smaller paintbrush, different sizes of paintbrushes, I am applying some of the ink on my paintbrush, and then I am going to splash all over my tags, both my tags, so they can give this splash effects of water. It will give it more vintage look and more interest to my background. Same splashes technique here, but look, the bigger brush gives bigger splashes, bigger splots. Can you see the difference between the smaller one and the bigger ones? Allowed everything to air dry, and look how beautiful it looks. Look at the beautiful effects on the base, and these are the backgrounds. Here I want to create more vintage look for the background, so what I'm going to do is use one of my scissors, sharp scissors, and I'm just scraping against the backgrounds to give a vintage look, as if the edges of the paper are worn out. Because this is a thick paper, it makes this beautiful effect. It will show more when I do this next step. For the next step, I'm going to at random places, I'm going to create this cut with the scissors, and then I'm using my tweezers to hold one edge from one of the sides of the cut that I created with the scissor, and then I'm gonna hold it tightly and then roll the paper on both sides to give this worn out and vintage effect. It matches a lot with all the papers and the images of this Vintage Library paper pack. We are going to do it in random places here and there for both the backgrounds of both the tags. And look how beautiful it looks now. Really cute. And now let's then add the focal points that we want to add, the elements on top of these vintage photos. I cut a lot of images using both the ephemera sets that came with the paper collection and also the booklet, the paperback booklet. And these are all the images that I thought I'm gonna use. Let's see if when we start making our clusters on each tag, which are we gonna use and which we are not. Here I'm placing everything in front of me just to have an idea what I want to do. I chose this big cello image to use as a main focal point for my blue tag. And then I thought it will really be complemented by this beautiful scrap of paper. It's a music sheet, and I thought I'll add it behind it. It's nice that the music sheet with the cello. I'm also covering all the white edges all around all of these images with a vintage photo ink and some areas with the espresso. And then I placed everything where I want it to be, and without removing any of the focal point elements, I am placing the fun foam behind the images so I don't move them, so they stay where I want them to be. See, I'm using my tweezer to add the foam pieces behind my elements without moving them after I decided where they go. I'm also adding foam behind the tag so it is a little bit having a little bit of a dimension above the base. But notice that I'm not having a very big piece of the foam behind the tag because I want the edges of the tag to be a little raised, not flat. Here is the part where I noticed that the base needs a little more sturdiness. It was warped from the water of the colors that I added on the base. So I did cut again using my Cricut machine two more layers, and I added them together so it has more sturdiness. Here again, I'm re-adding my glue. Notice the small piece of the foam behind the tag. So there's a little bit of dimension between the tag and the base, and still the edges are not flat, and it's still a little bit raised, giving this all beautiful vintage look. I'm fluffing the pieces a little bit. See how raised it is, the edges. And here is the final look. And let's move to the red tag. I did the same thing, starting with the main focal point, and again going around all the edges with my sponge, adding some vintage photos distress ink to give the vintage look and to remove the white edges all around all the images that I'm going to use here. Again, I'm going to add the pieces next to each other to finally decide how I want my cluster to look. And then I'm going to come with my foam tape. The beneathmost, the bottommost layer, I always add direct glue. And then for the other pieces, I add foam tape as I go above. Look how beautiful the dimension is. Same thing, we're going to add a little bit of foam sheet behind the tag and then add it to the base. And I also added the two other layers to the base to make it as sturdy as the other one. And here is how they look together. I am now adding the coats. I found this beautiful coat by Mozart that was part of the paper pack. I did cut it from the booklet. And I found two cute more coats to add on the other red one. I remember I also added a vintage photo on the edges so everything comes together and they're all of the same look. Here is a closer look to both of them with all the dimension. After I finished this part, the video was supposed to end here, but then I thought, why not add them in a cute box, so if you want to send them, you can send them. I did cut this box. It's a very simple template that I found online. I will also link it down below. It was supposed to have a hexagonal box like this, and I did cut the same thing from another paper that is from the paper pack. The blue one is from my stash, and the other one is from the vintage library paper pack. And I thought that the flaps are so big, I did cut them to make them smaller, and I did add a double-sided tape on each of the flaps. And then I'm going to remove my flaps and attach the pieces together like this, so it will form the raised wall of the hexagon-shaped box. And then I noticed this probably not the best paper that I'm using, because when you make the crease becomes white like this. So I used a dark color to remove the white edges. The other piece that I cut from the paper pack, I did cut only the base so I could cover the base. So to give a contrast, I Also choose the blue that is of the same shade of the blues that are included in the paper bag, so they're more matching together. And I cut these pieces to size of the walls of the box, and I'm going to add them on all the sides from the outside, so the box doesn't look plain. It is gonna bring everything together so the inside base is matching with the walls outside. Look how beautiful it is. And then this is acetate piece that I also cut using the Cricut machine. It is the same size of the base, and I'm going to add it to the cover. From the inside of the cover, I'm gonna add the double-sided tape on one side, and then I'm going to stick it to the cover of the box. The cover is also a template from the box. I did the exact same thing. I cut the flaps, and then I added double-sided tape on the flap, and I made the creases and to make the cover. And look how the whole thing looks. It looks beautiful. Of course, I made sure that it's a little bigger than the tags, so the tags can fit inside. I made 2 tags this time, but the walls are so high, so you can probably add 6 tags or a bit more, but maybe you just want to add 4. So the dimension that you have from the elements on the tags do not get squished and they stay fluffy. Here I'm adding ribbon to my tags, and I'm gonna make sure that I add them first, and then I'm gonna cut so I know what is the final length of each ribbon that I want. This ribbon is also giving this final beautiful vintage look to both the tags. I love them so much. I like the final result. This paper pack is really, really nice. And here I decided to add few elements also to bring everything together from the same collection. I'm also adding them here in a cluster, deciding whether I want everything to go. Then I'm going to add my double-sided tape and attach all the cluster to the cover of the box on top of the acetate. I think it looks so nice on top of the acetate. It looks like floating above the tags. When I put the tags inside, you'll see how nice it looks. Okay, and then a little leaf here and there, and I'm adding a flower to the top. I'm having so much fun using this collection. I love the colors and the ephemera, the dimension. Look how beautiful it came out. It's really pretty. And then here I'm opening it to put my tags inside. Really nice gift. And then you're gonna cover it, and look how the whole thing looks at the end. Really beautiful collection. Look at the dimension, the ephemera pieces, the beautiful tags. Here is the final look. You will see it even more. I did a lot of photos at the end, close-up photos. I had so much fun creating this project, these 2 tags and the box. I hope you guys had so much fun too. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave you for the photos, and I will see you all next time. Bye!